Today we're going to talk about departmentalizations of organizations. Hi, I'm Neil A. Caruso, and today I'm going to give you a first-hand example, and that example being at WRHU, where I work at a radio station which is affiliated with Hofstra University. Now, the departmentalization of WRHU is certainly internally oriented, and the reason for that is it has a management structure that people report to different managers. For instance, I'm the executive producer of our morning show. People report to me. I also have to report to the executive board, several managers that I have to report to. We have different departments. We have a news department. We have a sports department, music department, IT. We also have an engineering department, as well as marketing and PR. And then we have an executive board that manages the entire station, but the administrative board, which I'm a part of, has to report to the executive board. So we have different departments and different managers that report to other managers. So certainly an internally oriented station, and many stations are like that. Although I don't always agree with how the organizational structure is. It's efficient. It's effective. I would say it's more effective than it is efficient at times. It certainly works. We're the #1 station in the country rated by Princeton Review. We've won many awards, Marconi Award, as well as individual awards that many of our journalists have won. However, it's not always efficient in the fact that we do have an audience, and the audience relies on us for certain information. They listen to our evening news for traffic and weather. They listen to know what the local news of the day is, as well as national and international news. Our morning show is supposed to be, the way I changed things a couple of years ago, is to make it more of entertaining as well as informative. So we've always been informative, sometimes to a fault where we're too boring. I made it informative and entertaining, and something I stress to my staff is to be to inform and engage people. Otherwise, they'll change the dials. So you want to be informative and entertaining and engaging, and bring different content, something that's unique. And to a fault, the problem is we're too internally oriented. And obviously, we have a educational mission along with the station in conjunction with the university and the School of Communication. But the problem is that we're not focused on the audience. So every hour, things change. We have the morning show from 7 to 9. We're talking about politics, a lot of politics right now. We have news, we have sports. Then we switch gears, we have top 40 music, we go to alternative rock. And then before you know it, we're in jazz music. And so things change every 1 to 2 hours, and it's very confusing for the audience. Great internal structure, managers report to other managers, and we have an effective way of communicating with board meetings every week, and how can we make the station better and make sure that we cover certain things and get the experience as well. For instance, this summer we'll be covering the Democratic and Republican National Conventions. We do morning shows from Belmont Park at the Belmont Stakes in a couple of weeks. I'll be in Cooperstown doing a broadcast at the National Baseball Hall of Fame for the 3rd consecutive year. So we do a lot of special events. We do a lot of good coverage. But the problem is, it's not always efficient because we're not focused on the audience. So as much as it's effective and it works, and that's certainly evident by the awards that we've won, we're too internally oriented, and it's effective, not always efficient. The way I would change things is to make it externally oriented. And in that case, I would make it focus on geography. As I mentioned, the first management lesson, focus on live and local content. And that's what I would focus on. With WRHU, we have a reach into New York City, into Brooklyn, and all of Long Island. I would focus on the live and local New York audience. And I would make sure that we're going out in the field and reporting. Not all our reporters are top-notch, I get that. But I would focus on training people to make sure that we cover Nassau County primarily and cover New York City and the 5 boroughs, something that not all stations in our radius connect to. News 12 does a good job of Long Island coverage. They fail to do so in New York City. We have the staff as the largest radio station on Long Island. As far as staff is concerned, I would focus on staffing people to go outside and report and focus on the audience in New York. So I make it externally oriented and focus on geography. So that's just an example of an organizational structure. There are many different organizational structures Some work better than others. Some are focused internally, like ours, with different management styles. And we have a director of operations and a general manager at the top, and then we have producers, and we have sports managers, news managers, and news director that reports to the heads of the station with a staff. I have a staff of about 50 students. So I would change that up a little bit and focus on the audience primarily, because that is who you should be focused on, at least if you're worried about ratings. I mean, obviously, with an educational mission and as a non-commercial station, we're not worried about ratings as much. But if you're worried about ratings, and at least in radio and TV, you want to focus on the audience. What do they care about, and what is unique to your station? What can you bring to the audience that's unique as compared to what everyone else is doing, which is good for them, but if you want to be unique, you want to bring different audience, different listeners in, you need to find that niche in a market. And that's exactly what we talked about last management session, is what I would change if I was concerned about ratings at WRG. If I was running the station, I would focus more on the community at hand and the New York area than I would internal management. While it has its benefits for students and who can learn different management styles and how to be a manager, it's also alienating the audience who listens and depends on us for different coverage, whether it be in an emergency, which we're there for, not always efficient but effective, or in other cases on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, in different industries, you have different organizational structures and different things that make it effective, but I would always focus on the community at hand, your audience, and being live and local, being with them, even as a global business, which we talked about in the last video.